Now we're live.
Episode 3. Alrighty, guys. Scenery's a little different because me and Mao are on tour. We're on tour. We're here in San Marcos. Next tour dates are in Laredo, Texas. Next one is in Laredo, Texas. Next one again is in Laredo, Texas. So if you live in Laredo, you're lucky. You have us for forever. But if you're seeing everything different now, because Duty was supposed to be episode 3, but due to Duty being in the fire academy, couldn't do it. So we got the next best thing. His dog, Foo. I'm kidding. Okay. I thought it was going to be a better reaction.
No.
Alrighty. But no, for episode 3, this is going to be Mr. Enrique Kike Rodriguez. We're going to have him. He's a great friend of Mao and I. He's a leather worker. He is a mechanic. Does anything with his hands. God just made his hands so great.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so for the episode 3, this is Kike's episode, so here we go.
We'll start off. Just like we always do with everybody, with me, with Jared, and further on, a little introduction, who you are, how old are you, none of that science stuff, please.
Science stuff?
Yeah, none of that science stuff.
So like, give a little introduction about yourself.
Okay. Well, everyone, my close friends know me as Kike. I'm 20 years old. I do leather work. I'm a mechanic by trade, and I'm living in San Marcos. I'm working full time.
Yeah.
Moved away from home.
This is true.
From my friends.
But and then before we keep going to, so y'all have known each other for a long time,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
For how long?
I was in third grade. He was in like kinder or something.
Mm-hmm.
He walked out of. So okay,
Wait, that's
hold on.
He's only 2 years younger than you.
Hold on. It's because I met his brother. Right?
Well, yeah, just to let y'all know, Rick, the one that's always been behind here, this is his brother.
Yeah, for those people
brother.
back in his hometown that haven't heard of Kike in a while, this is what he looks like now.
So if you see Rick, you see Kike. Looks just like Kike. If you see Kike,
Yeah, no, that's true.
yeah.
So I met his brother, and then his brother and I became best friends, and then one day we go to a little
It's like the fall festival.
yeah, like a fall festival, and he walks out of a trampoline or a bounce house, and he doesn't like me.
Kike or Rick?
Oh,
Me.
Kike.
I didn't like him.
Kike
at
doesn't
first.
like me because
Oh.
he was so used to just
Oh, because he took your brother.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So he didn't like me at first, and then eventually time passed on, and
How is that? Did he tell you just straight up? Hey,
no, this was years
I don't like
later.
you.
This was years later. He's like, I think you should know now. I didn't like you at first.
You know, I think Mao has this thing with everyone because when I met Mao, I didn't like him. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. So then we then that was it. We they're having their own conversation.
Sidebar.
That was it, and then
Okay.
the friendship just kept going, and yeah, from there
Nice.
it was good. Anyways,
So, in answer to your question, like 11, 12 plus years?
Okay.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yes.
more than half his life.
That's literally more than half his life. Wow.
About half your life.
All right, that's the end of the episode. Thank you, guys.
No. So Kike,
I'm a simple man. Not much to say.
why leather work? Why San Marcos? Why are you where you're at right now?
Yeah, it's true because you did live in Laredo.
Jared.
Oh my!
yeah.
Oh gosh, this is gonna be a good one.
Thank you.
Yeah, everyone watched. Jared kicked me out of there. No, Jared had a birthday trip.
Yeah.
And it brought us to Austin, and then foolishly forgot his belt.
Yeah.
his only nice belt in his wardrobe.
I only have one belt. I forgot.
One leather belt.
One leather belt. That's it.
And at this point, I was already doing leather work, so I'll explain how I got into that after. But what got me to San Marcos was what got me to Round Rock. So I was doing leather work already. He forgot his belt. He was gonna go buy one, like a crappy, box store belt. And I was like, no, dude, give me the same amount of money. I will go make you one for the same price.
Imagine it's my birthday trip. It's my birthday, and he said,
Give me the money.
"Give me the money."
Except you didn't, and I think
I know.
Yeah, I know. I paid for that belt.
No, to this day he did.
Yeah, and I told him it was a birthday gift. Yeah, but I told him I'll spend as much on material as you would on a belt, but mine would be much nicer.
Yeah.
So I called it's a leather supply store that I know of. They're called Tandy Leather. And I called them and I was like, hey, do you guys have space to work? And do you have material to make a belt? Do you guys have straps there? And then so I went in. They said yes. And then so I went in the next day. And then I crafted a belt. And while I was doing it, people were watching and stuff. And I was explaining what I was doing. The manager saw. And when I was paying for the materials and the supplies that I used, she offered me a job. Just on the spot. They were understaffed.
And keep in mind, Kike was supposed to be with us because we were go-karting at the time.
Yes.
We were doing things as friends, but remember, Jared forgot his belt. So
So I sacrificed my time with my friends to go make you a belt.
To go
You
make
didn't
on your birthday.
You didn't sacrifice much. We didn't get to go.
Yeah, we didn't get a go-kart.
That is true.
So-
Apparently, we had to reserve prior.
but I got a belt.
But he got the belt. But he got the belt for his
But so that was the start of why Kike.
That's how I got to Round Rock. And then
But she offered you.
she offered me a job. Yeah, and she said $14.50. Coming from Laredo, $14.50 an hour. And coming from Laredo, I was like, wow, that's crazy. Never paid my own bills, never paid my own rent.
Yeah.
My own groceries and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, I think I could do $14.50. I did the math. I was like, I'll make this much a month, and my grandma's gonna give me this much allowance. So I was like, oh, I can do it.
That's
And
crazy.
I was doing it, except it was just like crappy. It was shit, man. Like I was like, and then beyond that, I was using specialized experience in leather, right?
Yeah.
Every day I worked to sell the supplies
Mhm.
and to teach people and show them how to use the tools and the material and what everything that we sell there.
Yeah.
And I was like, that doesn't feel like I'm getting paid for my experience. And then behind that, I was doing truck inventory. I was doing all normal retail stuff.
Good.
Sorry.
Oh, good.
Sorry. No, keep going.
I was doing all normal retail stuff for $14.50, and I was like, I don't like it. So I have some mechanic experience, and I was like, well, maybe I could fall back on that. And by that time, I was already seeing Anna, my girlfriend. What's happening?
No, it's because Rick, can you kind of adjust mine a little bit? I feel like it's I don't know.
Up or what?
No,
we're not.
we're-
It's just I feel like I'm peaking a little bit.
No, we're adding timestamps now, so we could add the bleeps.
Oh, and timestamps too. Sorry guys if you're
We're bleeping it?
Yeah.
bleeping what?
His bleeps.
Oh.
It's
Yeah.
good.
Not me, it's gonna be me the whole time.
Jared said to be myself.
Yeah, but not too much yourself.
And bleep this.
I never had to edit the podcast. Ever. You're probably gonna be my first person to edit all this. I try to keep it as raw as I can. You're definitely gonna be edited.
Okay, so then where were we?
So he was talking about how he got to Tandy, working there.
Yeah, I decided I didn't like the pay.
But that's what drove you to keep going, right? Because I remember even when you left, Ma was telling you try everything you can. Do everything you can before you come back.
Ma was very encouraging throughout the whole time, and I would call him. And before I made the decision that I was going to leave Tandy, I was like, I called Ma and I told him I was like, this is how I'm feeling. And he was like, well, yeah, do everything you can to get to where you want. And I was like, well, like the main thing for me was always the leather work, because I felt like I kind of exhausted a very small customer base in Laredo. Or maybe I didn't, maybe there was a lot of people I had left to talk to. But I felt like
Well,
There's no more sales here.
did you ever have doubts though when you got up here and then you started realizing like did Mao help you? Was that helpful? Because did you have like, oh, should I go back to?
I didn't really have doubts. I just felt like, you know, I worked hard in the past.
Yeah.
But like working full time and having no room to be like, you know what, like I don't like this. I'm gonna just do something else. Except you can't. Like that's the part where it's like, oh, like that's, you know, it's a strange feeling. And moving out at 19 years old is
That's crazy.
definitely very like,
I
I guess like a little bit harder than I thought. You know, paying rent. And I was renting a room in a house, so it was pretty cheap. But even then, it was like, you know, I would get home, I had to do the laundry, cook the food, do the dishes. It was like I would do some of this stuff at home, but you know, we had like a housekeeper who would help out like twice a week. So not things that I'm normally like doing this all the freaking time.
You should have kidnapped her.
That would have been convenient. I could not have paid well.
Just one day she was just walking through your house. She just went, like just grabbed her and took her with
that
you.
would have been nice. I might have kept going in Round Rock for a little bit, but no. So it was just like by the time I finished all my chores and all that, you know, everything that you have to do to keep going.
Yeah.
I had like a couple hours, and then I had to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And then wake up, and then go to
Do it
work,
all over again.
and then do it again. Yeah. And then the weekend would get there, and I would drive down to San Marcos to see Anna, my girlfriend, and it was just like. It was a good way to spend the weekends, except for like the fact that my weekends were Thursday and Friday, and then she would have like school on those days, so like sometimes she would be gone. But I mean, it wasn't very horrible. I just over time I was like, Tandy's not doing it for me anymore, and so my only other skills pretty much besides leather was like mechanical.
Yeah.
And so I started applying to mechanic jobs, and I was like, well, she lives in San Marcos. Nothing's really tying me to Round Rock. So I was applying in the area, and I landed a job in Kyle, which is like 10 minutes north.
And now he is a worker at Hooters. So if y'all know Hooters are on San Marcos, he's there.
My implants are in the other room.
He's there. No, so now you're a mechanic. So you left Tandy, and you decided now you got the job. So you're working as a mechanic.
Yeah.
And how's this experience been since you moving away from that? Since you went from
like a million times
to
better.
yeah, you're like and especially like everything because you're saying I like how you kind of said that because it is true. You have to get adjusted to everything now.
Well, I mean, like all of the hardships of moving and like, changing everything are like I don't really feel them because getting out of retail. Like anyone who's in retail
I've heard that.
will know like it's just service work, you know, doing sales, talking to people who are claiming like, oh, like I think I know more than you, but I still have questions I'm gonna ask you. It's like, you know, just day-to-day stuff of like point is getting out of retail, like
so much
I will go through anything else so I'll go through retail.
So it was kind of even over there at Tandy, it was just
I mean, because the demographic for leather workers is interesting. Because, like, on one hand, you know, we're north of Austin. So there were a lot of young artistic people who would come in. And they were very, like, open-minded. You know, people more my age, maybe, like, in their 20s, you know, who were wanting to learn. Or other people who were, like, in their, you know, adult space. And wanted to, like, you know, they're doing their business that they already had established or something like that. And they were always open-minded. But it was pretty frequently, you know, 5 or 6 people would come in per day who would just like, you know, I'd approach them, offer help because I was supposed to. Because I wanted to help. But some people would approach me and it would be like, I offer help, they say no, and then they go get help from someone else, which is okay.
Yeah.
But it's like,
man, that must be tough being a waitress at Hooters and going through that.
Well, you know, when you're young, people don't want to listen to you. That was what I found. Like a lot of times, I felt like it was because I was young. Other times, I felt like it was because of my long hair. Other times, I felt like Other times, I felt like it was because of my accent.
Okay.
Because it like the feeling I would get from some of these people was different than a feeling I ever felt back home, where
Okay.
we're all pretty much Hispanic
Just-
descent.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are.
That is true.
Yeah.
I was just who was I? Oh, I was talking to my boss when I was there at TMU, and I was kind of telling him that I was like, since I'm being like young as a team lead and like supervisor,
Mhm.
I'm the youngest one, you know, and I'm like, I feel like going around there, some of the employees they treated them different than me,
Yes.
because I'm like, oh, just because I'm younger or because they think, oh, maybe he lacks that experience,
Right.
and like it's not that, because even for you, like your work, it's crazy that you're only 19, but dude, you have so much experience compared to some of these guys that have been doing it for so long, maybe longer than you have
Yeah.
been alive. Than
And,
you have, but you've
You
been
know,
alive.
and it should be said, you know, like a lot of these folks came in and they would teach me stuff, which was awesome. I loved working there because, you know, people who were starting would come in and people who were doing it for decades of their lives would come in. And there were things that I would teach those extremely experienced people sometimes, you know, like shortcuts that they never thought of.
Yeah.
Or a different way of doing something. And of course, there were many, many times where those same people would teach me different ways of doing things that like just never occurred to me. I never saw it. The way I learned leatherwork was literally by watching hour-long YouTube videos, many hours long YouTube
So
videos.
that's how you got into leatherwork. Just YouTube University.
More or less, yeah. That's how I learned. Just a lot of watching it taught me more or
Wow.
less like the tools that I needed. But actually learning the craft was just
Yeah.
mistake after
Hands-on.
mistake after mistake.
Dude.
And then realizing that material is expensive and I need to stop making so many damn mistakes.
You could just get cows. Just have them outside.
Cows are expensive. You're around a cow.
What you guys were saying, I think it does play into aspect because people like to take it, kind of judge by first glance, right? So you see, like you guys, you Jared, that you're managing a team, or you Kike, that you were in Tandy. They go up to the youngest guy and it's like, well, he doesn't look like the wisest guy. He doesn't look like the guy that can tell you all the answers. Let me go to that guy.
What can this kid teach me?
Yeah, and it's like you miss out on a lot of opportunity for something like that because you want to judge at first glance.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't have to be like that, but unfortunately it is like that. So, and now we were talking earlier, and you told me that now in your new job, it's you are the youngest guy, but like this crew looks at you and like they respect your words, they respect what you say and your input.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a good thing to have in the environment that you're in because you moved out here without, like, all your people are back in Laredo.
Yes.
Everyone's back in Laredo, right?
Yeah, I
So-
had very little support up here.
Yeah.
I have a deal in New Braunfels, 30 minutes away.
Yeah, and that's your
Never
closest.
been very close with him.
That's your closest
Oh,
like
wow.
route to family. But I think having that good work environment where people actually believe in you, where
Yeah.
people have confidence in you,
It's
changes.
great there, man. I think that's something that actually is pretty rare in mechanics.
Yeah.
At least like from the outside in, because I got all my experience at the shop with my dad.
Yeah.
Where like it's just us, you know, there's no other mechanics, and of course like he's not gonna be really nasty to me.
Yeah.
What I see a lot online is like apprentices who are learning how to become a mechanic, and they'll talk about like getting cussed out by the person who's teaching them, or like having a bad, you know, doing something a little bit stupid, which we all do, and then getting like kicked off the job for it or something like that. And I'm like, man, that is tough. Like I haven't done anything like extremely stupid, but like I've broken parts.
I've blown
you know.
up a car before.
I broke a part one time. I almost started a truck without putting oil in it after doing an oil change, which is like super rookie mistake. But Jason called me out. He saw me walking with the keys. One of my coworkers, Jason, saw me walking with the keys, and he was like, "You put oil in that yet?" And I was like, "No, I did not put oil in that yet." So I not supervised, but I have these guys around me who are experienced.
Keep you in check.
They've made the mistakes.
Yeah.
They've seen the mistakes. They've made the mistakes, and for the most part, that's how mechanics is the industry in itself cars are always evolving, and so must the mechanics. And so by learning from people who have made the mistakes and did it the hard way, and I can avoid a lot of that, I save a lot of time, and I'm able to advance and evolve, like as a mechanic.
Yeah.
And so the industry moves forward with that happening
with all that experience.
all the apprentices around the world, like learn through that, through good teachers and stuff.
But that's why I like it, because that's why I have so much respect for you also, Kike. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, you didn't go to college, right?
I tried.
Yeah,
and I was like, nope.
and that's the thing, like, I didn't either. And you get me, like, I focused on my craft in IT. And, I'm where I'm at now.
Yeah.
But for you, and, like, I know how your brother is, like, dude, you all just, something that you see, you learn. And you just keep learning, keep growing with that experience. You keep trying, you keep applying yourself to it. And that's how it is, like, being a mechanic. Like, you didn't go to school for it. You didn't go to, like, mechanical school or anything for that. But look at you here, like, doing that because you set your mind to something. That's why I have so much respect, because it's all experience.
Yeah, it's like, it's weird because there's so many different paths. Like, you could bury yourself in books and learn mechanics that way. Like, if that's how you learn.
Yeah.
You could go and do it. There's
YouTube University, shout out.
This is my hot take.
Okay.
College. I don't think it's needed unless you need something that requires the piece of paper, like a lawyer, a doctor. Even then, if you find a company that hires you because of your knowledge, but it's safer to go to that route, like college route, if you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, something that requires that.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
Don't do college just for the experience. Don't do college just because your pockets might not feel it, but your parents' pockets will feel it. And if you're doing student loans, your pockets will feel it later, eventually.
That's
so be
true.
smart about it. Don't just do it because it's the experience. And that's something about Kike that he learns a lot from just learning himself. Like I'll walk into the room and he'll be studying this, and a week later he'll be studying this other thing, and I'm like, dude, how many things do you want to have in your back pocket?
That's amazing.
Right? But eventually he landed on something that he was like, I like this, right? And his move up here, it was obviously, it didn't need me in there, right? It didn't need anybody to tell him like, hey, go move up there. But it is a risk you're running to going out there, new city, new place to be. But he's young, and I told him, this is the same thing I told him. You're young to where you can mess up right now. You have a great family behind you to where if you mess up and it doesn't work out, you can come back.
Yeah.
If you mess up or you find out you don't like it, it's not for you, you have a support system, and you're young enough to keep trying in life, right? Right now you don't have kids. Right now you're not.
No one's relying on.
No one's relying on you. So you should be trying to do all these things, right? And I applaud him for it because it's like he went out, he moved cities, he left his people selfishly.
Oh my Lanta.
Sorry, that happens about once a day.
What's that?
Once or twice a day. I don't really know why that dog does that, but it's it does it like once or twice a day. I think whenever it gets let out onto the balcony, it just has to let
Starts
out.
barking at me. He shows him who's boss.
Yeah, I got it, guys. Don't worry.
No one's like right beneath us.
But it freaked me out. I'm like, I thought it was your cat. I'm like, did your cat bark?
See, I was in the middle of a joke and I said he left selfishly, and now it kind of looks like I just said he left selfishly.
Oh.
Yeah.
Blame the dog.
We can blame the dog.
We'll go talk to the dog.
That's another idea. But he left everybody that was there with him. But I did kind of instill it like, hey dude, you go try and do everything you can right now that it's available to you.
But that's great. Like, a lot of people need to know that, because I know a lot of people can be just scared off of that, just going out and trying it.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to do. Like, you don't know until you go out there and try it. And I know some people have told you that, or people, you probably heard that, but it's true. Like, Kike had us, he was set, he's stable, he's all right, he's, he has his family, everyone's there. And for him to go out and be like, you know what, let me go to Austin, let me try this thing for my profession, something for me. That's amazing.
There's this phrase that's always like stuck with me. I don't know if it's just like a saying or there was this YouTuber
I know
who
which
would
one.
always say it. You know
Live,
what
laugh,
I'm gonna say?
poop.
No. I mean, yeah. No, it's the saying that.
I'm sorry, it's because that's like a little inside
No.
joke, just because my aunt had that in the restroom. But,
Hey, that sign was inspiring.
Live, laugh, and poop.
That's all it is, man.
Trademark it.
Hey, at the end of the day, that's all it is.
That's all there is to life.
Just living, laughing, and pooping.
No, so I think it was, I forget the name of the YouTube channel, or maybe they weren't even the ones who came up with it. But the saying was seek discomfort.
Wow.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that. Where was that from? I remember that.
You know, there's a
No,
channel.
you told me about it. You told me about it.
That's from my page. That's from my book.
Oh,
I
I
always thought it was such a good thing to like think about because it's like, dude, once I feel like the way I started feeling Laredo was way too comfortable.
Heck yeah. Comfort kills.
And I was like, I was wanting to see progress with my business.
Yeah.
And I felt like I had already done as many of the things that I could have done. Underneath all of the moving and like all of the things that I'm doing, becoming a mechanic, like underneath all of it is me wanting to succeed as a leather maker. So like that's what I want. I want to have my own brand. By the way, my brand is Rolling Bush Leather. I'm on Instagram. I'm seeing this way too late.
I'm gonna edit
Can
that
you
out.
staple that? Timestamp it for the bleeps.
So
he's like you can right here.
yeah, somewhere up there.
Just nope.
It's a link. Just takes you back to the podcast page.
That's a great idea.
Alright, it's 28 minutes, by the way. That's where we need to timestamp that.
But everything came back to just like me wanting to succeed.
We got a social manager over there.
And I was like,
she's doing a great job.
done.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
Dude,
because of my
that bit
podcast.
ended like 30 seconds ago.
And this is why I'm glad you moved.
Alright, so this is how they usually are. Now that it's here, guys. This is how they usually are. They go at each other's throats.
He used to love me. And then now he just thinks he's so cool because I'm in Austin, bro. They love you, bro. Anyways, that's it.
Yeah, I think it's a good saying to keep in mind, and it's not always practical. You shouldn't be like, oh, I have 4 kids and a wife, or I have 4 kids and a husband, and we own we own the house, and we have generational wealth now because we worked our asses off. It's like, okay, seek discomfort. Let me go do something like drastic.
I like that you
All of it on black.
Gamble a house, take a mortgage, put it all on red.
Hey.
But in terms of like me being like a young 19-year-old kid with realizing like I feel like I'm plateauing here in Laredo, it just seemed kind of right. Like
that kind of corresponds with I'm sorry to go back with what you said because my dad has always told me be a student of the game, right? And don't be satisfied at where you're at. Like example, if you be at a professional level, don't just be satisfied just because I made it pro, but there's always better. There's always something you can prove at. You can be better at. And
you can always get better.
You can't seek that. That comfort. You have to seek the discomfort. You have in order for you to get better. And it's like with CrossFit too, man. Like in order for me to get better at doing this open, I had to seek the discomfort, and that just progresses every day. You progress by seeking that discomfort. And I like how you said that. That was a great.
Yeah.
That was a great.
I think at the beginning. It goes to the very first discomfort that people see in their lives once they get older is financial discomfort, because like you said, you don't have to do it to everything, right? Like don't go gamble your house, but but I think
it'll work.
I think first financial discomfort, because you get too comfortable in the area you're at. And then some people want more. Some people are like, I want to have my own house, I want to have my own business, I want to have this, I want to have that, and they'll go out and put themselves out there in an uncomfortable scenario where they're like, I'm not at home, I can't go back to like my bed that somebody else is paying for. I can't go spend the water that somebody else is paying for. Like I'm paying for this stuff. So the very first thing in life when you grow up is financial discomfort, because it bites you, and it sucks that the world's like that, but That's the very first discomfort you have.
Yeah.
After that, once you're set financially, you get uncomfortable. Like, and you don't have to seek discomfort, but it's like go out of your routine, and it's uncomfortable to get out of your routine if you have a routine.
Yeah.
So like, go be a better dad. Go do this. Go do that. And I wouldn't put finances over family. Right, but it's
up there.
You can't really provide for a family
But,
if you don't.
and I
have
feel like that's why
finances.
some people get
They
stuck.
correspond.
Yeah,
And the truth is, like, the thing is, if you settle with the routine as far as your finances go, you know, like you were saying, there's people out there who want more, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
And so, the world of money is always growing, and if you're not trying to grow with it, you'll fall behind.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, it's like shit. Like rent went up, or the house payment went up. Even if your house is paid off, property tax can go up. And it's like all of a sudden you've been outpaced by everybody around you.
Yeah.
And now you're not just behind, but like it's almost as if you've stepped back when you haven't even moved yourself.
Yeah.
So
And he's 20.
and like that's terrifying to think
This guy's
about
20.
because I'm like, right now I get my paycheck and I'm like, I want more tools, so I spend all my money on tools. But
this guy goes up to me. He's like, "Mal, there's a toolbox. It's $400 off.
Oh my god.
I think you should get it. This is a really good deal." He shows me later, $1,700 to $1,300. Oh boy, I am sold. I'm sold. I don't even have that many
It's never gonna be that
tools.
price again, Mal. It's never gonna be that price again.
It won't be for a
It
while.
won't be for a
it
while.
won't be for a while. And I show you because having one, I understand the value of like, hey, having a toolbox is nice.
It is.
If you're a homeowner
Yes.
and you have all the tools that you need to your water heater, you know, the pumps that you have in your house, all the plumbing, all the electrical, dude, if you can service your own stuff, you're saving a ton of money.
Guys,
And where are you gonna put all those tools?
in a 1300 toolbox.
Where else?
Where else? No.
Where else? No, but too, if you are not handy, YouTube University. I'm telling you.
Dude, okay, as a mechanic,
in San Marcos area, call him.
As a mechanic, no, don't even bother. As a mechanic,
Numbers right here.
dude, everything. Okay, maybe I'm speaking like from ignorance because I don't work on like modern cars too much.
Okay.
And the modern vehicles I work on at work, it's they're all trucks and they're rental vehicles. So the company doesn't they don't put the heated seats and the heated steering wheel, like they're featureless pretty much. It's a surprise if you see a freaking power window. So I don't deal too much with like the electrical stuff. I think that's probably one of the shortcomings of the modern vehicle is like there's so much to them.
Yeah.
But other stuff like I gotta go pay a couple $100 for my brakes. It's like, you'd be surprised like how easy it is to do the brakes if you just YouTube it.
Dude,
Like being a mechanic for a full-time job, it's hard work.
here's a secret, guys.
But if it's one evening out of your weekend, it's like you're saving money. You're just doing it yourself.
I was thinking. I started laughing. It's because he said that they're rental vehicles. And yesterday we went to Austin yesterday. Everybody was at Austin, and we decided, hey, let's go bike riding. Right?
My
And
legs are still sore.
we got rental bikes. And so we're riding around, right? And I'm like trying to get a feel for the bike. I see Kike skirt in front of me. Like, he's testing the brakes. I'm like, he's testing the brakes. He just wants to see how fast he could go down a road and how fast he could stop. Maybe there's a car, maybe there's this. And initially I was like, this guy's smart. He's testing the brakes. I went and tested my brakes. And throughout the whole trip, throughout the whole bike ride, he's just doing donuts and braking suddenly.
He's still testing his brakes.
We get back to the rental place. I'm not gonna say where in Austin, but we get back to the rental
If you're
place.
the owner watching this,
We're not talking about
we're
your
not
company.
talking about your company.
We get back to the rental place, and I put my bike back, and I get a little notification, and it says, "Your bike has been returned. Any issues, email us here, right?" And then comes Kike again, skirting. And so he puts his bike back, and we're sitting down. We're just seeing what we're gonna do next, and I'm looking at the tires, all of them have thread. To Kike's at the end, and it's just flat. It's smooth. and so before he put his bike away, he was like, "Dude, the brakes are gone." The brakes.
No, and keep in mind, his brakes, when they first started, no sound. It would just, right? Just perfect brakes. Towards the end, you could just hear the...
He was like, "What happened to the brakes?" And then I'm just there sitting, and he comes by in a scooter.
Rick rented a scooter and he had a couple minutes left on it. He let me ride it, so I rode it.
Yes, he did.
That's the problem when you give Rick and Kike some crayons.
Yeah, they stay on activities together. It was good.
I was surprised at how well Rick was treating the scooter, actually.
He was making sure everybody was just doing good. It's because Lala, if you're watching, which you are, she was just so behind. She cannot ride a bike to save her life.
That's not true.
But Mao was racing Kike, so
Yes.
that while that was going on, Rick made sure he was there.
Good job,
He
Rick.
was going, yeah.
Good job, Rick.
He was looking out for Lala.
So, going back to it.
Lala pulls out. She's like, oh, like neck brace.
Actually, she told me she almost got hit by a car.
Oh, she did say that.
That would have been bad.
For college.
It would have been her fault.
Oh, it would have been.
Okay, so going back to it.
Yeah, but the Austin court would have been like driver fault.
This is true.
Thank you, Austin.
Thank you, Austin. So going back to it. Now we know you.
It's because I forgot where we were at.
We know you left. We know you left home. You came by.
Yes.
Seeking new activities.
Yes.
We kind of got a taste of where you came from, a little bit of your introduction, but throughout that whole process, early life, and even now that you don't have a lot of people here with you, you have wonderful Anna over there. Thank you very much for taking care of him.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Anna.
She's like, take him with you. You touch him. Ding.
How and where, because I know we're very open about it.
Mm-hmm.
How and where does God and Jesus Christ come into your life?
So, well, back home, I would go to church with you guys as often as possible.
Yeah.
I have not gone to church once up here.
Yeah.
But I've always felt like my kind of I don't even really like saying like my kind of Christianity, because it feels weird to say it like that. But I feel like my understanding of God, right,
Mm-hmm.
is that I'm thankful for all of my stuff, and I'm always thankful for I had an easy start. Moving out at 19, sure, stuff and all that, but it there's no fear factor to it, because if I do crash and burn over here, I just go back home and be with my parents and I'm fine.
Yeah.
There really is absolutely zero risk factor, except for I don't get to live where I want to live, and that's not nearly the end of the world, because me going back home is me going back to my parents and all of you guys. Is there really is nothing on the line for me, except for at this point I would just be like, God damn, I gotta figure out a way to stay with Anna. That for me, that's the main thing.
Oh.
And keep baby fed, the cat.
Where is she? Oh, she's over there.
But I feel thankful for that truth, that there's not too much on the line for me, and I recognize that that's not my doing.
Yeah.
I didn't create those circumstances for myself. So I recognize that, and I'm very thankful and appreciative for that all the time, because it keeps a lot of stress out of my life. Every time I've worried about money, I'm like, why am I worrying about this? And that is super privileged.
Yeah.
That is.
And when I'm low on cash,
It's true.
when I'm low on cash and I'm thinking do I get groceries or takeout? And I'm like, I'll just put it on credit. and then me not stressing about that is an extremely privileged position to have, despite the fact that I work hard for my money.
Yeah.
So you're definitely blessed what God has provided for you.
Yes, 100,000%. And like, you know, I recognize I wake up, I show up to work, I do that, you know, like the labor part of it. But, you know, I always thought like, okay, going into a leather store one time and getting offered a job is not something that happens. You know, like, anyways, my relationship with God has always been kind of like I've always felt like I'm being looked out for, and I've always felt like I owe my thanks to somebody, and it's, to me, there's a creator, a loving creator who like put me here and who created the earth, and I thought, okay, well, that's who my thanks is gonna go to. So as much as, you know, I don't go to church anymore, I still absolutely feel like, you know, I know my place. In other words, of like, I'm not some kind of ultimate affecter of the world. You know, I'm not someone with some kind of divine power. I recognize I'm just like a person, and I should treat other people good. I should love other people no matter what.
Ooh.
I should generally just be a good person because, you know, I was lovingly put here, and that should be the effect that I have on the earth, a positive one, because of that reason.
That's definitely being real.
Yeah.
Where do you? There's a little branch off this topic. Where do you think humanity gets their morals from?
You know, in general, I think,
Because we have there's been a debate, and it goes that humans can be morally good without God, right? And the question to that is, okay, well, what defines good?
right.
Oh.
Yeah, so I think generally, morals come from, I think for the average person who's like not a follower of God, I would say morals come not in a negative way to say it, but like the only way I can think to say it. Morals come from a selfish desire. Oh, I wouldn't want to be stolen from, so I'm not going to steal. I wouldn't want to be hit, so I'm not going to hit.
That's a good thing.
I wouldn't want to be killed, so I'm not going to kill. You know? And so I think generally people try not to do unto others as they wouldn't want something to happen unto them.
That's a good thing.
But there's the flip side of that exact reality where it's like, oh, like, I don't want this to happen to me, but me doing it to somebody else isn't going to cause it to happen to me. If I steal from somebody, I'm not going to be stolen from as a direct result of that.
Yeah.
So that makes it easy for me to just take and keep.
Yeah.
And so it's like what you're saying, like, okay, with a godless society, what defines good? Why wouldn't a person just take and keep? Which I think is a really interesting question. I wish I was more into literature, because that is a very like good debate.
Yeah.
I think, you know, we all have some of God or our creator, or however you want to look at it. I think we all have some of that in us, and we want to be good. But I think selfish desire overrides that more than often, and it's why there's so much like negativity in the world. And like in so many different systems, you see failure. In like a capitalist system, you see failure where corporations are able to run over everything and take advantage of the environment, take advantage of the average person, and take advantage of politicians or, you know, swoon politicians, and make a thing that benefits them by paying for it. And that's like at the heart of all of that is like just selfishness. So like the way I see it, morals are not intrinsic. They come from something.
Yeah.
I don't think people just have this random desire to.
And that's what I was gonna say. Like, well, Mao, like, you know, if we think of separation from God, right? That means like you think of the fruits of spirit, right? All that's you're not gonna have that. Right? You think of full separation from God. You don't have love, joy, peace, patience, kindness. You know, all that. So it's like have to have, having God, we have those. We have those feelings, we have those all those morals and all that. So that's what I was gonna say, is that not true, but is that kind of correct in a sense of, kind of makes that point, if God's not, here, so we don't have love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, and we don't have good morals. We're selfish, like how you said, and we're gonna be following the ways of the world, which is the ways of the world are wicked, naturally, straight up wicked.
I think you follow the ways that work. So
Yeah.
like whatever it takes to fulfill your desire is what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
And the only reason we don't do that is because of moral.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, that car is so cool. I want it. So I'm gonna go break the window, hotwire that thing, and make it mine. But like the reason I'm not gonna do that, someone worked hard for that. I don't want to take that from somebody.
Yeah.
And then like there's also the huge other side thing, which will probably be like the main argument against what is being said here, is that, oh well, like, no, you're not gonna do it because you don't want to go to jail, which is true. I don't want to go to jail. But
I kind of also heard some people take, though, like, but we all know, like, what's right and wrong, because that's how we're taught. You know what's right, you know what's wrong.
Which is the foundation of the question.
And you have to have a foundation of what started right and wrong, right? And that's Jesus Christ, that's God. Because my right, like what's good, my good could be, I don't kill people. That's not good. There's serial killers out there that find it intriguing, that think they are just, hey, you know what, this is good, I'm doing good. But that's humanity. That's humanity. You get the foundation of morality from God. There's no question of like, oh, that's just humans being humans, because we are feral. Originally in the Old Testament, God had to teach us how to live as a society.
Yeah.
And that's why the New
Stop
Testament...
stealing from each other.
Stop doing this. We had to be taught how to live in a society. And then the New Testament comes along, and Jesus is teaching how to go on with our lives in our hearts, right? But you say, that's just humans. Humans are they have moral. No, we didn't.
But
we didn't have
You can
moral.
even see that with Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
Like Eve and Adam made that mistake. They made the mistake, right? And then, boom, we get cast out of the Garden of Eden, and now the world is cursed.
Yeah, whether you agree or disagree, if I agree with my mom's rules or I disagree, those are her rules. Those are her rules, right?
Mom, you're always right.
You could think she's being mean, you could think she's being cruel, you could think all this of God, but those are his rules.
The Wi-Fi turning off at 10.
The Wi-Fi turning off at 10. My mom used to do that. Thank you, Callie. You could think that's cruel, you could think it's what, but until you create somebody out of dirt, then I'll listen to what your morals have to say. I'll listen to oh, well, I think it's done this way. I think it's done this way. Who are you to judge that, right? And I think I do. There's no doubt that morals come from God. Morals come from Jesus Christ. And that's just that. Like they're human. Like Kike said, originally or like by nature. And now that you put it that way, it's a good way to see it because it is true. Humanity will establish morals selfishly if it benefits them. Like if I kill someone and I gain their house, like morally that could be
It's a solid strat.
Yeah, it is. but
It's a solid strat.
So that's why we make it so that it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because generally speaking, no one wants to get killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it does benefit you. I think that does, like you said, it is selfishly through humans. Whether you agree with how God works or not, it's not up to you. Like I'm sorry to say, you could go shake your fist at the sky, but that's not up to you. It won't ever be, right?
Yeah.
So.
It's a good answer, Kike.
But that was the little branch. We could go back to your walk. Because when I first your introduction to God
Mm-hmm.
was you would sleep over at my house,
On Saturday
and
nights.
the at then negative part of sleeping over, the
Yes.
price of sleeping over was showing up to church.
Well, I didn't mind that as much as I minded of waking up in the morning.
This is true.
that was the thing.
It's so funny. I have this ongoing joke with Kike. I used to like, whenever I would sleep over or he would sleep over, I would sleep on a bed. Just because I would do fitness and I was just so used to the bed, I needed it the next day for my body. And he would be like, I'll sleep on the floor. So he would sleep on the floor. And I would get up. I don't care if it was 2 a.m., 3 a.m., I would get up to the restroom and he would spawn on my bed. Or he would spawn on his bed. But if I try to wake him up any other way, he would not wake up. Like, I don't know what his radar told him.
That's why you have muscles every time carrying Kike off the bed.
No, I remember I'd either just stay up or I'd just go to sleep somewhere else. If it was early enough, I'd stay up.
I want your take on that. Did you like hear him and you're like, this is my chance, this is my chance?
I never remembered doing that. Like, I would wake up on the bed and I'd be like,
Yo,
Thanks, Mal. I guess that's why it's not that bad in his head, because he still woke up in his bed, not on the floor.
It's so funny.
So anyways, he would wake up, he'd go to church, and he gave his life to Christ. I remember the day of, I don't know if you want to explain it.
Wait, hold on, before we get that, backtrack a little bit.
Anyways,
were
I don't know.
were you always Christian though, Kike?
no.
No?
No, I grew up, I guess you would say is the proper term would be Roman Catholic.
Non-practicing Catholic.
Practicing, sir, I know all my prayers.
Wow.
Go, say it now.
Our Father.
No,
No, like I do know Our Father, the Hail Mary and all that.
Hail Mary.
My brother and I went to the,
Sorry,
what was it,
like
like the school, the Sunday, no, not Sunday school.
Confirmation.
Oh,
Confirmation. Yeah, we did all that.
Okay.
So we did all that, we got to take by the Roman Catholic way,
Yeah.
got to have the flesh and blood of Jesus Christ in the Catholic Church.
Okay.
And got to the point where I think we were ready to move on to like confession and all of that.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the rituals of all of that and the practice of doing all of that are not intrinsic with the belief and the belief of all of that. Like you could do all of it and not believe a single thing.
That is
Yeah.
true.
And as a little kid, it more or less felt like school number 2. Like I was going to school again
Oh.
to learn again, to get punished for not showing up again, and to memorize more stuff, to do more things that weren't playing games and having fun or playing outside with my friends. So like automatically my relationship with it was just kind of like, mom said so.
So you would be you would go to like your Catholic church also, but also go to a Christian church with mom.
No. So that was when I was little, like little, probably
Oh, okay.
like elementary school, little.
Okay.
And so I was not going to church with Mao at the time. I think Mao actually probably at the time was going to a Roman Catholic church.
No,
Was
I got to Laredo. I got to Laredo when I was 7.
From Kansas.
From Kansas. And I would go to church. My mom started going to church, to a Christian church when I was like,
Oh, so you're
8.5.
a Christian also?
yeah.
I was about to say, I was like, in your episode, you told me you were.
Yeah, no, I
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know.
I'd
I didn't know.
accompany, I think I've accompanied my aunt a couple times.
Yes.
Ms. Big.
See, that's why I thought that.
Yeah, I've accompanied
Okay.
her a couple times, but never to a service. Once, I think I went to a service, or a mass, and I think that was that. But then after that, my mom went to a Christian church, and that was that.
Yeah. So, anyway, point being, I just didn't have too good of a time there, just because it wasn't what I wanted to do. But I think at some point, like my brother and I were like lobbying against it enough to the point where my mom was like, Okay, fine. And we would still go every now and then, like on a Sunday to church. But there was a large period of time where it was just like, oh, it's gonna be like no church and then no school or anything like that. And that was like how it was for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point in middle school, all the sleepovers where I was going to church with you.
So then you transitioned, right?
The Sunday mornings.
That transition was starting to happen from Catholic to Christian?
Yeah, from not religious to Christian.
Yeah, I think it was kind of like Catholic breakup, and then
okay, because when you're Catholic, you're just doing it.
So
just
like I would say all the Catholic Church did for me was establish the idea and the belief of a creator.
Okay.
Besides that, I understood like the Ten Commandments and all that, but I didn't really understand the concept of like having a relationship with said creator, with said God.
Yeah.
Where like, I can.
But I'm just hoping
I can actually.
Cat doesn't cut that. Okay. He's also power cord right there.
Like I can actually, have a conversation or like express a need or a desire for something and have it answered, or like experience some kind of like negative feeling and then find peace and comfort in God. That wasn't what Catholic Church was to me. To me, Catholic Church was like be good or else. Which was I think a lot of people probably can relate to that. I'm sure there's a lot of devoted Catholics who are like have a better experience with the church, or maybe we're okay with that experience,
Oh, there's some probably listening trying to transition from that.
Possibly. But that's how it was for me.
Okay.
And so going to church with Mao on Sundays as a result of sleeping over the night before, it was a matter of time before I started to listen. I would sit there in the service room because that was, the proper and right mannered thing to do. I'm not going to go just hang around outside like a like a heathen or something. You go to church and you're just like,
just kick rocks
I'm
outside.
not cool for this, man.
So hopscotch.
Hopscotch outside.
But no, so I would go to, they're a Christian family. They let me stay the night. They let me have their food. They let me have their shelter. And so to me, the well-mannered thing to do was to go and show up to church with them and be part of that relationship with them. Be part of that ritual of we're going to go and we're going to celebrate what we have.
Yeah. By
worshiping that who gave it to us. And so to me that was the only thing to do. So at some point I was like enjoying the church enough to the point where there was a youth service that would take place on Wednesdays. And Mao would go to them, and I always wanted to hang out with Mao as much as possible.
That's why there's no CrossFit on Wednesdays.
So originally it was you took my brother from me. Now it's you took me from my brother.
So I started going with him on Wednesdays, and there was at some point on one of the Wednesday services, they did an altar call, which is like, they're playing worship music.
Yeah. And
they have some of the ushers standing up at the altar, and they're inviting you to go pray with the usher if there's anything that's on your heart. And I don't even remember what it was. I think I was sad about, so I was in orchestra in middle school, and I wanted to leave because I was going to be going to high school, and I would have to make the decision to pick another elective or stick with orchestra. And I, wanted to leave, but I felt like I was abandoning my group, my people.
Oh. Yeah.
So it was just it wasn't even heavy on my heart. I was just it was the first time that I had to make a decision that had some kind of bearing for the foreseeable future in my life, because that would have been a 4-year decision. So I was like, wow, I don't know what to do. This is going to change the next 4 years of my life. And the decision was coming, and it was coming quick. And I was like, well, let me go pray about it. And then, I'm sure there was something else on my heart that I was it felt good just to be able to let it go with a judgment-free zone. Because that's how I always felt at church. I know there's a lot of Christians out there who will who will be against like judge you and all that for like different stuff, and I'm just like, that's not like, you're pushing so many people away, you know, with this kind of like different kinds of judgment and like making people feel ostracized and stuff like that. Because the Christians that I was dealing with were people who invited me and accepted me, and they didn't have to know anything about me to tell me that they love me as a brother, like as a brother.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I think the difference is there's people that judge with a prideful judgment,
self-righteousness.
Yeah, like you're called to judge. People get that wrong in scripture. We're like, oh, don't judge others. Like, no, Jesus teaches us how to judge, but it's just judge righteously. You know, don't judge with the pride. Judge because, hey, you know what? I know that that's not right. Like I've been through that. I'm battling with this. Blah blah blah. If there's if you're not helping somebody, to lead them closer to Christ, you're just kind of, you know, pointing there's a way to judge. There's a way to judge. There's a way.
The way I see it, if you're not helping, you're pushing.
Yeah.
And like, the way I always felt at the church is that I was being helped. I never felt pushed. So it was this ordeal of like I'm letting go of this problem, and I feel like this person with no bias, the usher, this person with no bias on what I should do, is talking with me and telling me that, you know, like, Lord help him with his decision, and, you know, like, the amount of care that he had for a problem that I thought was so, like, trivial was, like, astounding to me. And I was like, this grown adult man really cares that much about something that I'm like, to him probably was trivial in his life. And you know, I wouldn't be surprised if he never gave it a second thought. I'm sure he did, because that man was Mo, otherwise known as Moses. And that guy is awesome. I love him. He was a very friendly person. But if it was anyone else, I wouldn't be surprised if they never gave it a second thought. Because it's some little kid trying to figure out if they're going to stay playing a violin or not, you know?
But God still took care of you at that moment.
And yeah, and I felt taken care of, and I felt like, you know what? Like, whatever decision I make is the right one.
Yeah.
And I think one of probably God's largest role in my life has always been that, you know, confidence in every step that I take, everything that I do. I feel like I'm doing it with some kind of a purpose of like, you know what, I feel like this is where I need to take myself next, and so I do it, and I feel like, you know, I've been empowered, I guess, and that's your parents' company's motto, right? Empowered by God, and I love that. I've always loved that motto, because it's like you can do so much when you have that confidence of like, I've been given the authority to take control of myself and put myself in glorify.
I didn't know that was his parents' motto. Yeah. I thought it was on time every time.
So they have M&J, which is on time every time, and then they made I forgot the name for it, but it's like a little branch of the company. Yeah, called EBG, Empowered by God.
Wow.
Yeah. They have a lot of branches in the company. It's just that one, like you can see it on the trailers and all that.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that though.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
On time every time.
So I always liked that motto, Empowered by God, and I always felt like when I went to the Christian church, and after I had my moment with Moses, where he prayed with me, and I felt like taken care of. I was like, you know what? This seems like the kind of place where lives can change, and I really like that, because I think there's so many bad places where life can change for the worse. It was refreshing to be in a place where life can change for the better. you know, and it's not like a short kind of change, like, oh, like these next couple weeks were great because I won a lottery ticket at a gas station.
If y'all are hearing that noise, it's the cat.
And we're not gonna stop for having a good time.
We're explaining.
It's not, just be careful with the knife.
We're in her space, so
This is her world.
this is her living room. You notice how it's not that we can afford furniture; it's that this is her play space.
This is her
So
domain.
we're filming a podcast on a cat's play space.
Yes.
That's where the first tour locations.
And she decided she was gonna wake up from her nap and
Next
play
next one is AT&T Stadium.
Be there.
during a game.
I have time.
So if you see one of us die because the linebacker decided to destroy you,
And you go, how do you feel about God?
no, but coming around, bring it back. I just all I'm trying to say is like, you know what? This is a place where I felt like my life changed for the better.
Yeah.
Because I felt happy with who I was surrounded by, and what the message was, which was to be better always, and like the symbol in Christianity is Jesus Christ on the cross, and the Bible says that he lived a perfect life, and I always thought that's crazy. Not a sin, not a single sin. What an impossible thing to strive for, but what a wonderful thing to strive for. Doing no wrong unto anybody, doing no wrong unto the world. What a positive existence to have had, and like to me, that's the existence I want to have, where it's like I didn't affect anyone negatively because I was a good person. And it's like that seemed to me like to be the message, you know, like be better all the time. And I was like, yeah, everyone wants to keep growing and keep perfecting their relationship with God, who holds us accountable. And I think that's like the most important thing of like the religious aspect of it, because everyone can choose to try to, you know, be a better person by the morals that we set as a society. But it's different when you have this accountability, you know, that there's like religious accountability of like, you know who you're serving, you know who you're doing it for, you know why you're doing it. I feel like it gives you more purpose, which is a huge word to have, like in your life, purpose.
That is true, because a lot of people will say that they'll be like, oh, I'm a good person, but they're worldly good, you know, in that standpoint, you know, which is good, which is okay, right? Well, I want you to be a good person, not okay as in the sense like...
Check this out. Check this out. If you place me next to, and I heard my mentor say this, if you place me next to a criminal, a murderer, you're gonna see a good guy. You're gonna look at me and you're gonna be like, well, that's a good guy.
Yeah.
You please.
The cat's playing.
The cat's playing, guys. You place me. Now take Kike sitting right next to me, right? Or take the murderer sitting right next to me. You raise Kike's face.
No, murder.
Right? You look at me, and you're like, well, that's a good guy over there, right? Now sit Jesus Christ right next to me. I'm wicked,
Full of flaws.
I'm the dirtiest rag that could be, and that's the truth of it. We're not good well, you're saying, oh, well, now nobody's good, right? Exactly, to the standard of perfection.
Yeah.
No one is good.
No one comes close.
No one is good, absolutely nobody. And as because I felt like I kind of had you know, I was part of your I guess your story with Christ, right? I was there for it. When you do things, know why you do them, right? To glorify God. I tend to say that every day, right? And I'm trying to wake up and thank God for the day, because James tells us that the day is not promised.
Your dad's so good.
Not my dad. And I'm trying to go to sleep praying for another day because the day's not promised. But you gotta look at your life and really see what you're doing with it. Like, I understand financially, hey, you know what, everybody's in the race. In as a husband, as a spouse, as a father, you know, what are you doing in life? And all of it looks well and done, but it doesn't matter at the end.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care how much sentiment you put into it. I don't care how much like I'm doing enough for the world. I'm doing this. None of that matters at the end. It doesn't. You have to, with whatever you do. I try to. This is what I was gonna go to. I try to live daily to just try and glorify. If somebody could hear the message that is the gospel, I would tell somebody the message that is the gospel. Why? Because and it goes back all the way back to the beginning of this conversation with comfort. I'm comfortable because I know the gospel. I have peace with God because I know the gospel.
Oh.
But those people, they're comfortable in their sin. Now, it is almost murder for me to sit there next to somebody's bed that has a sickness and I have the cure of it in my pocket, and I'm like, you'll be okay. Am I being good to you?
Yeah.
You're gonna be okay. Like, what am I doing? It doesn't matter what I'm doing. Everybody's gonna be good to this person. But if you give them the cure for that sickness, I don't care if they don't talk to you afterwards. I don't care if they rejected you. If you just leave the cure there for them, you did more for them than any of those people that were nice to them did.
That's why I kind of like the perspective when I've heard it before, and I'm pretty sure y'all have, when they say that, oh, let's say we're just, right, end of the world, right? God's here, right? Getting ready to judge us. And your friend's right next to you, and you never once told him about Jesus Christ. And he's probably like, looks at you and he says, wow, like, you knew all along the truth, and you never once told me one thing about him.
Yeah.
Which it is kind of true, you know, like, we have the good news. And like God says, now we're able to share the good news.
I feel guilty when I don't do it. Like, I understand. Yes, I'm a paramedic. Yes, I'm a firefighter. Yes, I'm a help in people's life. I understand that, right? But none of that really matters because, like, I'm if I could give you $100 bill or $1, the gospel, or my physical help, I'm handing everybody dollar bills when they need this for their life. This is the ransom for their life. And I'm not giving them this. I'm just kind of making them feel good, thinking, hey, I'm being good to you. I'm being a good person. And on the contrary, it goes back to me. I'm like, I'm handing out so much good that it feels good, you know? Eventually it'll be enough, but it'll never...
Never be that.
It'll never be this. It'll never be this. So my where I was going with this is just as a, I guess, I don't want to say mentor because I was there initially for your walk with Christ. Now that you've moved, it's been kind of harder to stay like that, right? But whether it be at work, whether it be here in the house, or whoever you meet, right? If they don't like you afterwards, they don't have to. That's okay. They don't. Not everybody's gonna like you. They don't like truth, and that's that. But
I like Kike.
Nobody likes truth, right? So just on what you do with life, be more than good. Be a warrior for what Christ has done for you. You've seen what he has done in your life. That little feeling of like,
I feel good.
Why does this person care about my violin? You know?
Yeah.
You've seen how it's changed your life,
Yeah.
right? And to not go out there and be like, I at least want to tell them about it. You know, I think it holds us morally to a selfish standard, right? And I've battled with it too, where I'm like, am I being selfish for not giving people the gospel, for not giving whoever I talk to the gospel? And originally, you want to be like, well, no, you can't give everybody the gospel. But yes, you can. Yes, you can. Like, it doesn't take much to explain the gospel to somebody. Now, what they do with that, that's on them. What they do with the cure, they smash it, they throw it.
Yeah.
That's on them. That you gave them the cure. You know, you have the cure, right? So now that you're in a different city, it's like you have a lot more opportunity to meet new people. To, like, even your mechanic friends at work, and it's like, how many of those people are going with you to heaven? How many of those people know Jesus Christ?
I've met like 4 people.
That's good. That's good.
Wait, what do you think about like knowing 4 people? Like if there's 4 people in front of you, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you really like. Then people say to you, like, "Hey, I believe in God." Who are you talking about? You know, like, you believe that Jesus Christ died on a cross for your sins and rose on the 3rd day, or you believe that somebody created you. You know, there's a difference between I believe and I was created,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe and I was saved.
Right.
You know, so as a kind of reunion with you and I with talking about this stuff, because him and I used to go back and forth on all these things.
That's amazing. I feel like I
scripture.
just captured a little brother moment right there.
We used to go back and forth on
Yeah.
scripture, but everybody's like, I know the scriptures, blah blah blah. Even Jesus says you search the scriptures and I'm gonna butcher it. You search the scriptures for life when it is them that testify of me.
Mm.
Right? So you just gotta know, or do what you do. Be good with a purpose,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like have something behind it, because to lead somebody to Christ, let's say, being good was let me tell somebody about God, right? To give them the best gift, right? I'm cool to you, but I didn't really give you what you needed. Am I really good to you, right? Like, I'm being a good person because I want to be a good person,
Yeah.
but what did I do for you but make you, kind of pat you down to?
In the perspective of eternity, anything done here is not much.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just my reunion with you. That, like, you're in a different place. I don't want you to going back to comfort, right? I don't want you to get comfortable in, well, I know God, right?
Mm.
Like I know I was created. I know that the difference, or the morals. I know I'm good relatively to people. Like, I don't want you to get stuck on it. And I think anybody listening could kind of open their eyes. Like, nobody should get stuck on that.
Yeah.
Nobody.
I got my whole family is, we're all going to church.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Nobody should get stuck there. Nobody should feel like, there's a creator out there. There's this, there's that. Like, and I'm not saying your works justify you, not at all. But I'm not saying your works save you. Your works justify you, but just don't live in that comfort, right? Don't live in that comfort of, like, well, I have the gospel, so.
You look at me. The way the way he took her out, he was like. No, but it is true, Mal, what you're saying, because there is even, like, I feel like, personally, I'll share how when I started making transformation, right, coming back to Christ and being on fire with Christ, and there's a point you can get so comfortable where you're like, okay, I have what I needed, everything I needed. It's so easy to get to your daily life and just keep doing what you are, and kind of starting putting God aside. You start putting him aside little by little, because you're like, okay, I feel great. God made me feel good again. I'm restored. And then you're like, okay, let me do this, let me do that. And then you just forgot about God, right? Like, you forgot to take that time to read more, to keep learning, to keep praying to him.
Yes, and it shows where your
Yeah.
faith is at, because it's like, do you have saving faith or do you have faith? It's you go through life and you're good, and you're like, oh, life's going good.
Yeah.
And then something bad happens, you're like, oh,
Faith.
God, what's up, God?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
But as your life is good, you're like, Life's good, life's good, life's good, life's good. Oh, I got a promotion? Awesome, man. I have been working hard.
Yeah.
And then your life goes bad and you're like, oh, what the heck?
You know what's funny? I've always, like, I feel like lately it's always been like I feel like when I do good, I'm like, oh, dude, like, yes, thank God. And then when like something bad happens, like I don't make it that month, like where I wanted to be with whatever. I'm like, fuck, I fucked up.
No, I get that.
Well, that's why I want to. Then let me ask you
Yeah.
to this, right? When you all feel like when something goes bad, how do y'all handle that now? How do y'all have that perspective now, even being with having God with you? Because again, we're here to glorify God in our moments. Like, thank you, God, and then a season comes and or something kind of little tragic happens, and you're kind of like, you know.
I think I've always thought overall like God doesn't really give us things as much as he does, but not as much as he gives us opportunity. So like there's so many opportunities that are created that it's like, okay, well, and now it's up to me to take them.
Okay.
So like if I'm falling behind and all that, I'm kind of gonna think more like I haven't been taking my opportunities, you know, as much as I should have. Whereas like once I'm, you know, if I'm ahead, I'm like, there's plenty of opportunities that I've been able to take.
Yeah.
And I'm not the one who put the opportunity there. So like all I did was take it, you know. So like when things go bad, like usually my reaction is just like, oh, like I didn't take the right opportunities. When things go bad that are out of my control, like, you know, like a loss or something like that, you know, I think it's just something, like it's a result of the world that we live in, that humanity at first chose to live in.
Yeah.
Whereas like these are things that happen now because of decisions that were made.
Wow.
So like to me it's just like I mean that's reality, you know, and I think that when you really think about it, what we could have had, like, is really depressing. So
It's a good way to handle things. A lot of people don't handle it like that.
well, I think I don't handle things the right way. I think I don't think about things as much as I should. I think I kind of ignore a lot of, like, maybe things that shouldn't be ignored feelings wise, and I'm just like, you know, like whatever. All I can do is move forward, which is true. All I can do is move forward. so like a lot of the times I'm just like, well, that was yesterday. and then I move forward.
Well, just
at the same time, I haven't had anything like super major in my life happen that I'm like stuck on it. You know, like nothing major has happened. Just like existing. You know, I haven't.
Which is good.
I haven't suffered any like huge losses like that. So I'm like, that's something I haven't experienced.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I would handle that.
Yeah. I think on my end, the question was, how do you handle like
Negative in general.
negative
No, that wasn't it.
things in your life? When I handle positive things in my life, it's all, you know, I don't, like, I understand that they're gonna happen in my life, but I also do understand that that worldly things that happen to me in life aren't the end of it, right? Like, I could win the lottery, that would be amazing, that would be awesome, right? But it means nothing after eternity, you know, like after. So the celebration to it, it's like, hey, you know what? How do I praise God with this? Likewise, when something negative happens in my life, I think people need it because it puts your faith to test. Like, it puts your faith of how much faith you gave to God, or your true saving faith. It puts it to test on, like, you know, where are you gonna lean to? How are you gonna glorify God in this aspect? Where are you gonna go out and shake your fist at the sky?
Yeah.
Or you're gonna try and find the endurance that God wants you to receive. Find that glorification that you need to give Him. And like the good place or the bad place, I try to glorify God in both of them. Likewise, heaven and hell. Not everyone's gonna agree with this. I don't care if y'all don't agree with this. If y'all don't see it like this, read it again. If you understand God, you've read Him from the Old Testament, and you've read up to the New Testament. Heaven glorifies God. Likewise, hell glorifies God. Why? Because heaven glorifies God's mercy. Hell glorifies God's justice. Right? So, I don't care, and I don't care if you agree with it or not. That's just, if you look at it, if you look at a just God, that justice has to happen.
Yeah.
Hell is the glorification for that justice.
I think the reason people would have a hard time agreeing with something like that is because when we think about justice here on Earth, you know, it's like, okay, we live in the state of Texas. If I go outside and commit,
baby.
if I go outside and, you know, I've been planning this for weeks and I commit a murder, that's first degree murder. If it was a young adult who I murdered with lots of potential life left, or someone who the average court would find like very important, I would probably get sentenced to death.
Yeah.
That's our justice in Texas. If I go outside and I steal from a Walmart, I might get fined if I get caught, or put in jail. If I do it on a Friday, I might stay in jail on the weekend.
The penalty's different.
Yeah,
the penalty's different.
Let's put it to the test.
And the penalty is variable, exactly.
Yeah.
And you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
People have a problem with what you're saying because when you think about rejecting God, people reject God for different reasons. Someone might feel a certain way about their sexuality. And because of what is said about sexuality, they might reject God as a result.
Yeah.
And they feel from their perspective, I am who I am, and being sentenced to hell for that doesn't seem right. Whereas like, oh, I lived a life of a serial killer is going to get justice in hell. Yeah? Because a lot of people would say, well, shit, that's where they belong. Whereas like, I would look at somebody else who like had some kind of tragic thing happen in their life and their faith was shaken and ultimately it failed. And I'd be like, oh man, like the faith was never restored. That is not adequate to enter the kingdom of God, and there's nowhere else to go but to hell. And so like, to me, it's like, so those two same people get the same punishment. It's not variable.
Yeah.
Because the playing field is not about like what you did wrong. It's like what you didn't accept, right?
Yeah.
So like, instead of judging by the wrong, it's like judging by what didn't happen, which was like, I guess, this acceptance of like the acceptance of Jesus and all that. But I think it's a tough statement to swallow.
Yeah.
Because there are people who deal with like the tragedies of the world, you know, like a natural disaster and stuff like that. And of course, animosity to God is an extremely popular thing because of how wicked the world is and how horrible things are. There's a lot of people out there who feel like God turned their back on them. And like, I've never been anywhere with my faith where I feel like I could counsel this idea of like X, Y, or Z was taken from me, and like, I don't believe a God who would do that, you know, or would allow that. And like, for me, like, I hear that, and because I haven't suffered any like tragedies like that, I like just don't know what to say. And I feel like it takes a special kind of person who has gone through those things to be able to offer that perspective, where like, all I could do is sit and speculate. You know, I don't think I could say anything of value in regards to that, which sucks. you know, like I wish there was more to be said, but like I never felt like I could say the right thing to make it make sense to someone who lost like their entire home in a freaking tornado or something, you know, or like.
Yeah. I've been on both ends of the spectrum. I've had life good. I've had life running from house to house. I've had life with a father. I've had life without a father. I've had life with you know, my grandma was one of my closest friends. I've had life with my grandma. I've had COVID take my grandma. I've kind of lived throughout all of the scenarios, and when you don't, I understand it's hard to just kind of swallow that pill and be like, you know, God's all good. That wasn't supposed to happen. That's not good, right? So obviously God's not good. But it was never like that. I did sorrow. I was like, man, what the heck? That's not cool. Or why did I go through that? But at the end of it, it's not like humanity's flawed. Humanity is flawed to its extreme point. And I'm not gonna blame God for the actions of humanity, because people are like, well, if God's all good, then why doesn't He just get rid of evil?
Yeah.
Well, He did. You guys didn't like it. Everybody drowned.
Yeah.
And to do it again, it's like, you know, what are you gonna learn from that? You guys still have free choice. How far are you gonna learn, right? So I do think that it just you really have to sit down and view people get stuck on that moment. Like, if this tragedy happened when I was this old, a year later they have a house, they're still stuck on that tragedy because it's like, how that happened. They could have lost this, they could have lost that, they could have gained double that, and they'll still be like, I lost this, and they don't see what's right in front of them.
Yeah.
I think that's where people keep that resentment on that memory that they don't want to let go, right? But that,
I like how you both said that, because to be honest, this is the whole point of why I wanted to make this podcast, you know, because your story is different from his story, you know, different from my story. But again, there might be somebody that's just going through what kind of you went through, or what Miles gone through, what his eyes gone through. You know, Miles said like he's seen it both perspectives, you know, without a father, with a father. And on me, it's like I've had pretty much kind of nothing to now having stuff, you know. And your story, be able to share, like, you know, some people, I know a lot of people can go and be like, man, I'm Catholic, or I was Catholic, and then I feel like I'm going to church just because it's like another school, or just they're, you know, just because I have to go do it, I have to go do this and that. And you know, you went to that Christian church, you know, with Mao one day, and that person that God put there at that moment was able to just help you feel like, wow, I'm supposed to be here. You know, it doesn't feel like church is just a chore or something to do. And that's the point I want to share of this. That's why the whole point of this podcast is to interview people that have a story, that are going through these, you know, these trials. Or things.
I didn't even know that.
What?
I watched your first episode, and I got like, I made it through the introduction a little bit.
Yeah, I cut it off.
And then
He went to sleep.
I had to go back to work. I was at work when I was on my lunch break. I didn't even know it was a podcast like that. I didn't know that was.
No, yeah, and that's the point why I wanted to make, and
that's cool.
That's why I'm glad Miles on board now too, because you know, we're able to have somebody sit in front of us or next to us and just share their story, man. And just, I hope it, you know, whoever's going through what Kike is going through or similar, I hope it impacts you. I hope it helps. And you know, you're our first guest, dude, because we interviewed our stories, you know,
Twice.
co-hosts and hosts, you know.
Twice.
So you're our first guest.
That's fun.
And I wanted to do, because I know we're kind of getting a little short, because man, we can keep going.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do a question, right? I wanted to do a question that we're gonna ask the guest. So I've been thinking, I was thinking, you know what? Let me ask this question. So I'm gonna ask
To end it off.
Yeah. So this is our first guest. So I'm gonna ask you, what is something that has impacted you or helped you on your walk that you can share to those people that are watching?
Helps me on my walk.
Yeah. What's something that is, you know, that you can share to someone that's helped you, like it's impacted your life or it's just helped you on your journey and everything? Because that, that's the point of the pod. I want somebody to be like, wow, okay, I'm there. This could help.
I probably was a freshman in high school when this happened.
Okay.
So 2018, 2017. And I was driving, yes, as a freshman, in Laredo, which no one really cared about. So I was driving to the shop to pick up my dad, because he had a couple of drinks there, and he didn't want to drive, obviously. So I was on my way to pick him up, and on our way back, he was asking me about, drunkenly, of course, but what seemed like sober thoughts, asking me about how church was going, because it was at this time that I was acting as an usher at the church, and showing up every Sunday for both services, one to be in attendance at the service, and then one to serve as an usher.
Yeah.
And he was asking me how I was going and all that, and I was like, good. And I told him that I wanted him to come, and he said that he was scared. And that was a perspective that I'd never heard before. Something that I'd never been scared to go to church. And so completely confused and albeit curious why he was scared, I asked him why. And he said to me that all of his friends who accepted and went to church shortly thereafter died. And he kind of chuckled about it, because it seems like they, all my friends who accepted God, or like all my friends who started going to church, that's the way he said it. All my friends who started going to church all died, and I'm still here, and I haven't gone to church. And that's kind of like how he worded it. He chuckled about it a little bit, and he was not sober, so like he was kind of like a different frame of mind, I guess. But I was thinking about what he said in that moment, because that shut me up right up.
Yeah.
And I was like, like the kind of people he grew up around that he would hang out around with, not that they were like living lives of sin or anything, but like, he grew up around people who had to do things to make things happen, and they weren't always legal,
Yeah.
And it was never anything like heinous. It was just like the corner guy. I don't know. Like in general, not really like that.
Yeah.
But without going into too much detail, it's just like people who, at the end of all of it, after all of it, were in pain. And when you think about eternity versus 70, 80 years here, eternity is a long time. So it's like, to be one of those people who lived that hard life, who felt like they had to do X, Y, and Z to provide or to supply, to continue to exist and to not die, is an extremely painful life to imagine. And to finally be in a place where you feel as if, like, this whole time the bus stop was 10 paces that way, and the whole time fucking around, not doing it the right way. And then finally they walked to the bus stop, and the whole time the bus was right there waiting for them, and so they got on and the bus drove away. And so I asked him, I was like, do you think that they died because it was mercy and because existence was pain, and they died when they accepted church, that they accepted God because there wasn't anything left for them here? And he said that was exactly what he thought, and that the reason that he didn't want to accept God yet is because he still had me, my brother, and my mom to take care of. And I think that in some shape or form, there's this different perspective of religion that offered to me, where there's a lot of people out there who have a positive existence, who exist for others and hardly for themselves, but not for God. And for those people, I fear the most, I guess. You know, like, I wish the best.
Yeah.
Because for him, like, I always think, like, I hope he doesn't still feel that way.
Yeah.
I had always been too scared to go back to that topic with him.
Nice.
But it's just like, you don't hear that perspective every day, because not everybody is that selfless. To have this position of, I reject church because I'm not ready to go yet. And for me, it changed things where I was like, I gotta always keep it real and keep it right, because I don't want to end up on that path of that person, of that mentality of, like, then as soon as I do accept, like, it's time to go. I want to be on the path of, like, I've accepted, I'm ready whenever it's going to happen.
You're ready to be with eternity.
Yeah, and I'm like, I want to be able to help along the way, other folks. Just in life in general. But yeah, I think that was something that just, like, I always took it seriously, but I think the main thing that did to me was just like people's perspective doesn't always center around that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's completely centered around something else. And I find a lot of the times that it's family and loved ones. And, like, I guess shifting your perspective to center around something else is a really difficult thing. And hearing that made me understand a lot of how difficult it can be to invite someone to change what their life is centered around. It is a big step. And it is, like, a very long path. And it's one that, unless you're secure in your faith and you feel like you're not ready always to mentor somebody else, that is a very important job. And it's probably one of the reasons that, like, I myself have not been very, like wanting people to come to, because I question sometimes still where I'm at,
Yeah.
So overall, people are cemented into what they care about. It's very hard to change that. So, and that changes the path, that changes the way you approach things, the way you see other people and their willingness or unwillingness.
Dude, as our first guest, bro, that's amazing, man. No, I love you, Kike, and as I know I don't know you as long as Mao, but I could say I love you as a brother. You're a great man, and continue doing what you're doing. Dude, that was a perfect question. I mean, that's a perfect answer to the question.
That's good.
And so now what we always do here too, we always like to pray before we end. Mao usually prays and pray over you too, and just pray over the show and everything. So let's do it.
Lord, thank you today, God, for allowing us to be here with Kike, for just gathering us here to glorify you with another message, that it may reach whoever it is meant to reach, and that the people listening, whether it be here indoors or through a phone screen, through a computer screen, that they may just understand to seek you and your righteousness, God, and to just go and try to be the person that glorifies you consistently and daily. I pray for anybody that relates to Kike, that you may just enlighten them with your spirit of peace, that they may seek you for comfort, and that they may try and learn more about you, so that the trajectory of their life may just have a different view, have the lenses of Christ in them, have the lenses of the Holy Spirit just guiding that life. I pray over everybody listening, everybody under the sound of my voice, that whatever they're going through, whatever's just happening in their lives, whether that be to just glorify you more or something tragic that's just happened, I pray that you may lean close to them and that they may use this time to glorify you and to just test their faith. I thank you for everything you've done in everybody's life. Once again, I thank you for this podcast and everybody listening. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.